Now at 10, the Carthage City Council moves one step closer to an impeachment hearing against the mayor. Plus, Joplin looks to slow things down on a busy street near the high school, and
millions have evacuated communities on Florida's Gulf Coast, but what remains is the contents of their homes destroyed by the last hurricane. I'm Anna McAllister in Tampa, and I'll tell you the latest on Hurricane Milton that's expected to slam into the area early on Thursday.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
the Carthage City Council meeting tonight includes more discussion about the possible impeachment of the mayor. This is KOAM News at 10. I'm Dow Quick. Talk of impeachment from certain members of City Council goes back to April. The articles of impeachment accuse Mayor Dan Reif of violating his oath and duties as mayor. At tonight's meeting, council members approved new articles of impeachment. Tonight's agenda also included discussion of a potential hearing date and the date for a disqualification hearing, but at last report, that meeting was still underway. The speed limit will drop on one of Joplin's heavily trafficked streets as a safety precaution near school. City of Joplin has passed an ordinance to reduce speed on 20th Street near Joplin High School effective immediately. The change is set to help high school students who participate in before and after school activities. We talked with a number of people who say they avoid that road because it's so busy, and they say they see speeding in that area every day.
Honestly, I think it'll be fine, especially for the new teenage drivers at Joplin High School. I think it'll help them feel safer pulling out onto a busier road if the speed limit is lower.
No business owners we talked with were concerned about the change affecting their customers. Authorities in Fort Scott, Kansas released an update regarding a school bus fire from last week. School officials say the district plans to conduct an internal investigation that'll be presented to the Board of Education when complete. Now, last Thursday, this school bus carrying 30 8th grade students and 3 teachers was returning from a Kansas City field trip when that bus caught fire. Authorities say the bus experienced a blowout just south of Lewisburg, Kansas on US 69. The driver continued to drive that bus at reduced speed to reach a safe location, but a fire ignited in the blown tire. All of the passengers were safely evacuated, but obviously the fire destroyed that bus. Eventually, a second bus had to be sent to bring the passengers home. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy now for a first look at the weather.
And it definitely turned out to be a nice Tuesday for us today. Temperatures a little bit warmer, but still great. We started out at 48, 80 for a high, a good chunk above our average high of 74. And we're going to continue to up those numbers as we go through the next few days. Nice right now, 61 in Joplin, it's 56 in Pittsburgh. We have clear skies, most of us mid to upper 50s to near 60 degrees. Now, we have clear skies, but of course, all eyes on Hurricane Milton. You can see that very defined eye wall now tracking northeast toward Florida, and will be making landfall here in about 32 hours or so. Has weakened just a bit this evening down to 160, and our pressure is coming up, which is a good news. So at least it's a little bit weaker. Of course, we're going to talk about Milton and what you're going to see at your house here in just a bit.
All right, we'll see you soon. Tonight, millions of people in Florida are trying to get out of the way of that Hurricane Milton. That storm, as Doug said, is expected to make landfall on Florida's west coast before dawn on Thursday, potentially downgraded to a Category 3 hurricane. We don't know yet. Anna McAllister is in Tampa, one of many coastal communities under a mandatory evacuation.
A local emergency currently exists.
Law enforcement in over a dozen Florida counties loudly telling their communities now is the time to leave. As Hurricane Milton nears Florida's west coast, the interstates heading inland have been slow going. The real speed was found in the skies. Federal hurricane hunters got bumped around as they rode into the heart of the storm Tuesday. Winds howling at 165 miles per hour. Forecasters predict Milton could be the worst storm in a century.
This is water that's going to violently be pushed onshore from the Gulf of Mexico with destructive wave action on top of it. And you're going to have structural damage to buildings. Some buildings will wash away. Evacuation routes will be quickly cut off.
Milton is expected to hit the same region slammed by Hurricane Helene less than 2 weeks ago. Helene destroyed everything in Maria Green's Treasure Island home, and she expects Milton will deliver the final blow.
This one coming, we're going to lose everything.
All along the Gulf Coast, people have been piling up their waterlogged and destroyed belongings curbside, and now Milton's winds could pick all this trash up and send it flying, projectiles that could cause even more damage. But that added risk was not enough to convince Tommy Hall to evacuate. He says he's prepared to ride it out.
I mean, we can leave, but you're looking at the interstate. By the time you find a place, it's no place. You can't go to Georgia, you can't go to Carolina, so you got to go west toward Pensacola, Panama City. I'm pretty sure all that's booked.
Local governments and the National Guard have been racing to move debris off of city streets and onto giant piles, some of them 2 stories high. Florida's governor has ordered landfills and waste collection sites to remain open throughout the night. Anna McAllister, CBS News, Tampa, Florida.
The Arkansas National Guard sent a Black Hawk helicopter crew to Florida today to bolster the Florida National Guard and provide support after Hurricane Milton passes. Their 11-day mission will provide direct hoist and airlift support to ground-based search and rescue teams. Support is provided through an emergency management assistance compact between Florida and Arkansas. That 5-soldier crew includes 2 pilots, 2 crew chiefs, and a medic. They're expected to stage overnight in the Florida Panhandle before proceeding where directed by the Florida National Guard in the wake of Hurricane Milton. The annual National Environmental Conference at Tar Creek began today at Northeastern Oklahoma A&M College in Miami. The free 3-day event is open to students and the public. This year's theme, Advocacy Through the Arts, includes community art displays, a fish fry, a taco dinner, and a silent auction. People attending will hear from experts on environmental issues like lead poisoning prevention, prairie restoration, and updates on the Tar Creek Superfund site.
All this could have been avoided many years ago. The simple procedure would have been just to keep the water moving underground. No one wanted to be responsible for that, pay for it, and this is the result.
This is the 26th year for this event. That conference will run from 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. through Thursday at the Bruce G. Carter Student Union Ballroom at NEO. A death penalty case prompts lawmakers in Oklahoma to take a closer look at the state's criminal justice system. That's coming up. And
regulating ghost guns is in the hands of the U.S. Supreme Court. I'm Natalie Brand with the arguments and what justices signaled about how they might rule on the case.
At Roper Honda.
fixing the criminal justice system in Oklahoma. That's what state lawmakers are trying to do in the case of death row inmate Richard Glossop. They see the controversial death penalty case as an opportunity to take a closer look at the problems and work towards solutions in the system. Megan Mosley has details.
State Rep J.J. Humphrey called an interim study Thursday to look into the problems of what he calls flaws in the criminal justice system.
I support the death penalty, I support police, I support judges, and I support prosecutors, but I do not support using your position to violate the law and to put people in prison wrongfully or to put them on the death penalty wrongfully.
The interim study centered around a high-profile death row inmate case, Richard Glossop, who's on death row for the 1997 murder-for-hire killing of his former boss. His case, one that even Attorney General Gentner Drummond says should be spared as he didn't receive a fair trial. Now, Thursday's interim study highlights similar cases where the system is, quote, flawed.
And we are using Richard Glossop's case sort of as a frame but with the problems because his case is representative of many cases and many problems that exist in the criminal justice system in Oklahoma.
Those problems range from evidence being withheld, evidence that's destroyed, or inconsistencies in trials. So how do we fix it?
There are problems in the Oklahoma criminal justice system. Representative Humphrey sees those problems. Representative Williams sees those problems, and we're trying to focus the legislature on what kind of legislation can be passed to help make sure that these problems are resolved.
The U.S. Supreme Court will hear Glossop's case next week. The future of regulating so-called ghost guns, unserialized and nearly untraceable guns which can be made from kits sold online, is now in the hands of the Supreme Court. As Natalie Brand reports, justices appeared skeptical of the challenge brought by gun rights groups.
New regulations on ghost guns went before the U.S. Supreme Court Tuesday in a case brought by gun rights groups and manufacturers challenging the restrictions.
Some individuals, just like some individuals enjoy like working on their car every weekend, some individuals want to construct their own firearms.
ATF rules treat the weapons typically assembled from at-home kits like commercial firearms with background checks, serial numbers, and sales records. The Biden administration argues that's needed to keep them out of the hands of minors and criminals.
It makes perfect sense because the whole reason why you would want to get your hands on one of these unserialized, untraceable firearms is if you are a prohibited person or you want to use that gun in a crime.
Justices used an analogy to question when and how individual parts become a gun.
I put out on a counter some eggs, some chopped up ham, some chopped up pepper and onions. Is that a Western omelet?
No, because again, those items have well-known other uses to become something other than an omelet.
Would your answer change if you ordered it from HelloFresh and you got a kit and it was like turkey chili, but all of the ingredients are in the kit?
Yes, and I think that presses on the more apt analogy here.
Overall, justices signaled they're likely to side with the Biden administration and keep the ATF rules in place.
They can quickly and easily be turned into operable weapons. The justices clearly saw that.
The justices previously agreed to allow enforcement of the rule until they decide the case. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court is not expected to issue a ruling in this case until this summer. I want to help you learn more about the candidates you're going to be voting on for this November, starting with those running for Cherokee County, Kansas Sheriff. Now, we reached out to both candidates on the ballot. Russ Harper elected to not participate at this time. Ryan Henderson has more than 2 decades of law enforcement experience. He's previously worked for the Cherokee County Sheriff's Department, also the Joplin Police and Baxter Springs PD. Henderson believes this will be valuable experience if he's elected sheriff. Voters will cast their ballots for Cherokee County Sheriff November 5th. You have just 1 week left to register to vote in Kansas. A little later, the city of Miami scares up some donors today for a spooky-themed blood drive.
Plus, we're going to be warming up as we go through the next few days. We're going to check that out coming up.
Get your tickets at PCT's.
Adjustable base, only at Ashley.
Well, it definitely turned out to be a nice Tuesday for us today. Plenty of sunshine, a little warmer. Highs right around 80 degrees, but clear skies. We still have the clear skies out there for us right now across the region. And that's what we're going to see as we go through the overnight hours tonight. Great shot, Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. All right, let's go ahead and drop south. Here we go. Hurricane Milton got a very defined eye wall this afternoon. Yesterday, it had a very small eye, but the storm was extremely intense. It's weakened today, weakened a good chunk this morning, and then once we got this eye wall back, then it strengthened throughout the afternoon and evening, but now it has ticked down just a little bit over the past couple hours. So let's see what we're looking at. You can see the high clouds right out ahead of the storm, another little upper level disturbance off to the coast of Florida, but all these clouds are kind of spreading out. So we're getting some upper level shear, which is going to try to weaken this a little bit as it starts to push towards shore, which we greatly need because it's a Category 5 hurricane. Clocking winds at 160. A few hours ago it was 165. The pressure was 902. It's come up to 915, which does show a little bit of weakening. It should hold at Category 5 through the night, but should drop to a 4 for us tomorrow as it approaches the western seaboard of the Florida Peninsula. And right now it looks like it's going to move in right on the south side of Tampa. So we're looking at about midnight tomorrow night. A Category 4, maybe a strong 3, low 4, but winds at about 130. This is pretty equivalent to what we had with Helene a couple weeks ago. And then it's going to move across Florida and then right back out to the Atlantic. As it moves over land, yeah, it feeds off warm water. It can't do that over land, and then will just become a tropical depression as it pushes away. But thoughts, prayers, positive vibes to everybody in Florida over the next couple days. Back here at home, upper 50s to near 60 degrees. Black and white camera, but here it looks pretty good. We have clear skies, not a whole bunch going on across the Central Plains. Really not much going on all the way out to the west. Here's the reason why. Jet stream way up to the north, and all the storm systems, they like to hang out where that jet stream is. So until it moves farther south, we're just not going to get any big storm systems in here. Calm tonight, upper 40s. Let's move to the noon hour. Mid to upper 70s once we get into the afternoon. 84, 85, so a few notches higher than what we did see today. Some clouds increase tomorrow night. Can't rule out a couple showers on the Kansas and the Oklahoma side as we go into Thursday morning, and then partly sunny right back into the mid 80s for highs. 51 to start, 77 by noon, high temp, 85. In fact, it gets even a little bit hotter. By Friday, we're pushing 90. By Saturday, we're pushing 90 again. Then a strong cold front drops through, and that's going to bring us back to October-like weather as we move into early next week. 85 tomorrow, 86 Thursday, 90 Saturday, but a high of 66 1 week from now, starting into the 30s.
A cold front sounds refreshing.
Yeah, if it could produce a little bit of rain along that front, it'd be great.
That would be even more refreshing. Thanks, Doug. Still ahead, college basketball is just around the corner. Pitt State and Missouri Southern previewed the upcoming season at MIAA Media Day. John Dales has those stories and more coming up next.
We're still in the midst of college football season here in the 4 states, but sooner than you know it, basketball gets started. Missouri Southern and Pittsburgh State are up in Kansas City to preview their season at MIAA Media Day. Our sports reporter, Brock Baldridge, speaks with them this afternoon.
Well, the calendar has flipped to October, and basketball season is right around the corner. It's yet another season of hoops for both Missouri Southern and Pittsburgh State.
I think the biggest thing, I think last year's team was, our team was so close, and you got to give a lot of credit to the 2 guys that left, Marquis and Jeremy. I thought they did an unbelievable job of really helping kind of control our locker room and being a positive influence on everything that we did. Practices every single day were competitive. We really got after it.
The girls are pretty aware that it's going to be a tough league like it always is, and I think we learned some lessons from last year that hopefully pay forward to this year, and in some experiences and just in some toughness traits and just mental approach. And so it's fun, but it's it definitely can't be too fun because it's going to get to business real quick.
The kids we have, I really enjoy being around them. They enjoy being around each other. We got 6 returning kids that all had a big part, played a lot of minutes last year for us, and then we got 4 transfers that come in, and we got 5 freshmen. So I think our returning kids are doing a good job of teaching our new kids how we do things as far as both offensively, defensively, how we expect things to be done, and they've done a good job in it, and they're meshing really well together right now.
Brought in 9 new guys, 5 transfers, 4 freshmen. They're all really good guys first, really good people, and they're hungry to learn. So there's a lot of teaching going on right now. We're trying to build the foundation, and the foundation is based on fundamentals and shooting the ball, obviously dribbling, creating, and then passing the ball as well. So we're trying to build this foundation and then grow from there each and every day.
All 4 of our local teams have different playing styles, but they all share the same mindset, and that is to cut down the nets in March. From Kansas City, Brock Baldridge, KOAN Sports.
Thank you, Brock. This past March, Pittsburgh State women's basketball did cut down the nets in Kansas City after winning the MIAA Tournament Championship. They begin this year as the preseason favorites to win the conference, according to the coaches poll. Gorillas come in at the #1 spot. Missouri Southern not too far behind. The Lions are the preseason #4 team in the conference. Here's a look at the men's preseason poll. The Gorillas are the #3 team in the conference, entering year 3 under the direction of Jeff Boschee. They also get 2 first-place votes. Missouri Southern picked to finish 10th by the coaches. Like you heard Sam McMahon mention, the Lions are almost an entirely new group this year. They have 9 new players with 7 returners, most of whom were not starters a year ago. Some college volleyball action tonight as well. Pittsburg State goes on the road to Newman and beats the Jets 3-1. The Gorillas play Central Missouri on Friday, the same team that Missouri Southern hosts tonight. The Lions fall 3-0 to the Jennies this evening. They swap opponents with PSU. Southern goes on the road to Newman on Friday. Talking earlier about college basketball. Last year when both Gorilla teams made it to the conference championship games, they surprised some people. This year it's going to come as no surprise that Pittsburg State is very good on either side.
Yeah, they have a lot of very talented returning players for both teams.
They do.
We'll be right back. During the Halloween season, turns out it's not just vampires looking for blood. No. Today, the city of Miami held a community blood drive at the Integris Health Hospital. The theme for the drive, a play on Beetlejuice, was people juice. Blood, people juice. Yeah, donors got a free glow-in-the-dark People Juice t-shirt and a chance to talk about their favorite scary movie. It's not a movie, but it is scary real life, that Hurricane Milton bearing down on Florida right now.
It is, and about this time tomorrow night, it's going to get real close to making landfall. It looks like just south of Tampa, so Venice to Fort Myers. This will be most likely a strong 3 or a low category 4, so very equivalent to what we had with Helene. And remember, a lot of these same areas just dealt with Helene not that long ago, so we're going to have to watch that. All right, 85 for us tomorrow. Looking pretty good, near 90 by the weekend.
Final sports note.
Tomorrow the Royals play their first home game of the playoffs, Game 3 against the Yankees.
Yeah, tied up with 1 game apiece right now.
Yes.
The first team to win 2 more goes on. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget the morning show starts at 5 a.m. and let's make it a great tomorrow.